And a reminder, the first 30 minutes of this podcast are available on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Google, and many of the major platforms. The full podcast is available at www.patreon.com/SRBmedia. SRBmedia.
Good evening, Gabby.
Good evening, TC, and welcome all to our weekly podcast. Terry Curran's Curran View with the Idler of Hillsborough. You, Mr. Terry Curran, steady away, son. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad.
Are you by a TV? Are you watching the Arsenal-Man City game?
No, I'm in the kitchen. They're watching football, but I'm in the kitchen. But I saw the back pass.
I thought that if Jack Grealish doesn't press him, he's just got an easy pass back, hasn't he? But Jack Grealish presses him.
Pressure straight away.
Absolutely.
He's hit it high.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's a weak back pass.
Yeah, and that's the value of pressing balls, pressing players, making something happen that possibly can, because if you just back off, it's got an easy back pass to the goalkeeper.
Well, I was watching Vincent Kompany's coaching today at Burnley.
Yeah.
And it's totally different from the English coaches.
I would imagine it's very similar to Arteta and very similar to Pep. And it does speak volumes, doesn't it? I'd quite like to see the way Marco Silva coaches as well.
Quality of the pass.
Yep.
Right? Players understanding the game.
Yep.
Right? In and out the ball. In with the ball and out with the ball. You have to be concentrated at all times.
Yep.
And then you've got to have the quality of the pass. Practice on the training pitch.
And Burnley.
So everything I've said, I mean, that pressing, I tell people, when I was 22, 23.
Yeah.
But the English coaches are fearful of losing. They sit back. We've got to sit back. Take this thing out of the game.
Yeah. Work hard, win the battle, win the right to play football. No, get the ball down and just play football. I know.
I must have heard that.
No.
I've got to be more than 800 times.
It's incredible, isn't it? I mean, it's just so stupid. And it's a narrative that's thrown out by broadcasters as well, that listen to this garbage and keep propagating it. And they just never, ever learn. Football, absolutely. Football is an art form. It's entertainment. Get the ball. Try and play the ball forward if you can, and make things happen. It ain't rocket science.
Maybe 3 months ago, 4 months ago, about the Premier League, might be longer.
Mm.
It's as though they wanted. And at first, I thought to myself, I'm not sure about that.
Mm.
You're 100%.
We've been saying it for years on this podcast, T. Saying it for years.
No, you said it first. I've got to listen. I'll always give credit where it's due. You said it. But when I've opened my eyes up to it, you can see what they're doing.
It's all Premier League. They don't pay homage to players of the past. Sadly, the only time that they do that is when they pass away, and then they'll do a little documentary programme. But give them the flowers while they're alive.
This is how much they want the Premier League to be the Premier League and nothing else.
Mm.
I listened to Carragher the other day, and he's saying, Carragher, it doesn't make any difference whether you won a trophy or not. His goal scoring record stands up to as good as anybody's. Well, Tottenham's not won that. It didn't bother me. Of course I want to win something, but I weren't obsessed with it.
No.
I was upset that, not upset, I was frustrated that, the 2 injuries I got at the major clubs. But how they're talking about, Kane not winning major trophy but go down in Premier League history. He's never going to catch Jimmy Greaves.
No, he can't. I mean,
he's never going to catch it.
He's still one behind
and
Jimmy.
It's still the same Harry Kane.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
That there weren't, some of them didn't pick in these managers what got him on loan. That's still the same Harry Kane,
Yeah.
Harry Redknapp admitted, he said, I didn't think he'd make a footballer.
I mean, with Harry Redknapp, Gareth Bale was playing at left back, wasn't he? And he was in and out the side. But, players do, all of a sudden, the penny drops and they score a goal. they're on a run. And Harry, from that first goal that he scored for Tottenham, got on a run and hasn't stopped. His goal scoring record is fantastic, and he is, in my opinion, still one behind Jimmy, because I count the Charity Shield goals that he scored against Burnley in 1962. However, Tottenham don't, and that's why he's one behind. But you have to then factor in that Jimmy scored 124 league goals for Chelsea, and then he scored a further 13 goals when he moved with the that part swap with Martin Peters, that took Martin Peters from West Ham to Tottenham in 1970. And when you look at the full package, 357 top flight goals, it will never ever be equalled.
No.
Keep going, guys, and try, but you
And
won't
they can have as
beat
many
it.
games as they want.
Absolutely.
They can have as many games as they want.
And this is the difference as well. I think Harry Kane has probably played, I don't know, another 150 games more than Jimmy, perhaps. I'm not sure. I haven't got the stats, but his goal scoring feats are superb, Harry Kane, and you can't knock him. He's the best at finishing that there is about today, but it just shows how brilliant Jimmy Greaves was, playing in an era where we didn't play on these pristine pitches. Players got kicked from pillar to post, and it was a far more difficult game to play back in those days. But there you go, you can only
None of
beat.
us not questioning Harry Kane, but what we're questioning is how they're making him out to be the best thing since sliced bread.
Oh, absolutely. Because again, they forget the players that went.
Not goals.
Yeah,
Before he went to Premier League.
you can certainly add. I think Shearer in top flight. I think I'm right in saying Shearer scored 287 in top flight. Again, a great goal scorer of modern times. And Shearer stands up. Harry Kane isn't in the top 10 of all time, but Alan Shearer is. And Shearer was a fantastic player. Harry's still got a lot to go. Still got a lot of goals to score to get into the top 10 of all time. And what they always forget is the all-time goal-scoring list. They only focus on the last 30 years since the Premier Sky invented football in the Premier League. And let's be quite honest, it wasn't even going to go on to Sky. The deal was done with ITV, and Sky come in, pretty much hijacked it, and it was a whole new ball game. But it's the same ball game, guys. So we don't fall for it on the Curran View. It's not for the woke, this podcast, but it is for magic moments, T. So what magic moments did you source for us this week?
I think we're going to have to stop magic moment because we're doing a disservice to some of these other goals, some great magic moments. It's unreal. But I mean, I was going to go for Salah's because he's gone from the 18-yard box to counter-attacking.
Yeah.
Great ball. And having said that, I don't know what the keeper's doing because he's gone.
Went walkabouts.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
When I saw the keeper, I thought, well, I can't give him that. But I've given it to Mendy at Leicester.
Yeah.
Great strike. Technique on that is, he's kept his head down, got himself over the ball, a great goal. And the other one I've gone for, it's the same game, was on show, where he's fumbled it a little bit and then he just paced and placed it into the corner.
Great result again for Leicester City. What Tottenham team turns up, we never know.
Yeah, I had a double. Tottenham winning 1-0, Sheffield Wednesday winning 2-0. Wednesday drew and Tottenham got beat 4-1. Unbelievable, Jeff.
Yes.
Come back, Jeff and Cammy.
It is a funny old game. My magic moments, I loved Hannibal's free kick for Birmingham City against West Bromwich Albion, his first goal in professional football. And I thought it was superb the way that he saw the goalkeeper button just slightly over to his right-hand side. And there was a little bit of space there between him and the left-hand post that he could ping it into, and he did. And I did watch the Albion goalkeeper button, and I thought, blimey, that'd have been better off if they played Jensen button in goal. I thought he was absolutely awful. But again, that's the way it goes. A weak link in that Albion. Yeah.
When we look at our goalkeepers, we used to have the best, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
And even they have gone absolutely backwards compared to the European goalkeepers.
Absolutely,
I try to be fair with them, me. I really do.
Some of the goalkeeping, Do you know what I think it is these days? I think goalkeepers, the way that they're coached these days and the way that they're programmed these days, they actually concentrate more on being an outfield player and the first line of attack rather than being a goalkeeper and stopping the ball from going in to the back of the net.
I get your point. Get your point, but I look at it slightly different from you. They don't know how to coach how to play out from the back.
No, they don't.
They go keep going.
Be a goalie,
right?
yeah.
And they're doing it at the wrong time.
Yeah. I mean, and I think as a consequence, they're making so many mistakes. And I think largely the referees are as well with the VAR. They have this situation to fall back onto, and they don't referee the games as they would have back in the 70s. And I don't think goalkeepers play like they used to in the 70s because they seem preoccupied in trying to be an outfield player. Just concentrate on being a damn goalkeeper. Jensen Button, yeah, I think he'd have been probably a better shout in goal for the Albion last Friday night. Connor McMenamin, I believe that's how you pronounce his name.
Yeah, McMenamin.
Yeah, he's got a fantastic goal for Glentoran.
I saw it when you put it up.
Yeah, against Coleraine. I thought, what a goal. I mean, the way he hit it and the way he's got his hips straight in, like, almost just punched that ball in with his left foot. And then I was working away on Monday, and Uddy said, yeah, it was just like the goal that Willian scored. And I went and had a look at the goal that Willian scored for Fulham, and I thought, Uddy, you're absolutely spot on. What a goal that Willian scored. So two very, very similar goals. He has it, you know. I mean, again, it's all about, and the podcast that we do with Al and the podcast that we do on the Curran View, that we look at football in the way that, you know, through the eyes of us three and the way that we look at it, the way that I've been educated. And just because a player doesn't come off with a team or a manager wants to get rid of that player doesn't mean to say he can't go to another team and blossom. And it's 1-1. Saka's just scored the penalty. Edison made a right cock up. But again,
made a cock up?
Edison, the goalkeeper, he's gone out. He's penalty. And Saka's just placed the ball in the back of the net from the spot. It's 1-1. But Willian, I mean, he went to Arsenal and he didn't have the best of times there at Arsenal. Went away. Did he go with Saudi Arabia and play something like that?
You're not going to have the best of times if you're not playing it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Chelsea disregarded him. But he's playing there at Fulham now. He's rejuvenated. He's an absolute superstar. What a player. But I think
his technique's always been there.
Oh, absolutely. But again, I think when he was towards the end of his days at Chelsea, played out of position. You know, and if you play the players in the right position and give them that license, that freedom to do what they do best, it's not surprising that they actually deliver the goods. And Willian did for Fulham. Fulham again looking good value, as are Brentford, as are Brighton as well. You know, sides that ordinarily aren't traditionally big 6, big 8, top 10 sides in the Premier League, but the recruitment of all three of those clubs and the managers of all three of those clubs enable them players to go out, play and get results in the top league. We call it the top league in the world, and I think we're absolutely right, because I think in terms of playing against stiff opposition, quality opposition week in, week out, I think the Premier League is the strongest league. It might not be the most skillful, but I think it is the most difficult to win.
Oh, without a question, without. I mean, you have got 6 or 7 clubs.
Yeah.
What's capable of winning it? But there's always the 2 strong ones at the end of the day, isn't there?
Absolutely. And I think if you look at leagues in France, you look at leagues in Belgium, you look at leagues in Holland and other European nations, I think if you put some of our teams that finish in the top, say for instance 6th or 7th, they'd probably win some of those leagues or be in the top 2 or 3. But because our league is that strong, they they do fall a little bit short at times because of the strength of some of the big hitting clubs that we've got. And I didn't like to mention it, T, but that free kick from Nathan, was it Broadhead, for Ipswich against your beloved Sheffield Wednesday?
You couldn't listen,
I
great.
thought it was a phenomenal free kick. Technique was
It was
superb.
brilliant. Great goal.
Yeah, it
Great
was.
goal.
Absolutely.
You're
So
not going to stop them, Gabby.
I think you could have two goalkeepers
Yeah.
there, and you're not. I always think that if you're able to put that ball in that place with such, accuracy and pace, then you have to just hold your hands up and applaud and say, well done.
Yeah.
So,
Listen, you've got to give credit where it's due.
absolutely.
Fabulous free kick.
Absolutely. Quality. And again, really, when you look at it, and we're going to go on to League One watch a little bit later in the podcast, a good result, really, for Sheffield Wednesday. I know when you're 2 up away from home and a 2-2 isn't particularly a good result, but I think when you're looking at Ipswich, third in the league going into the game, Sheffield Wednesday was second going into the game. I think that Darren Moore would have taken a draw. Of course, he would like to get all 3 points and take them back to Hillsborough, but I think a 1-1, a 2-2 draw rather, was a fair, decent result.
Listen, when you look at that, you're playing one of the teams that's challenging for promotion
Absolutely.
with you. Yeah, the 2-0 up. Yes, they should have won. Make no mistake, they should have won.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be dropping points when you're 2-0 up. But before the game, I'll go along with this. Before the game, if you don't get beat against them, they haven't gained any points on you.
100%. 100%. So, and it's like I always say, when people are disappointed with results like that, it's what you would take before the game. And before the game, if you was to be offered that, you'd think, yeah, okay, because it's a double whammy. We're still picking up a point. They're not making any inroads on us, so they're in the same position. That 6-pointer is a real good result for us because it does keep that little bit of distance between Sheffield Wednesday and Ipswich. And Wednesday looking good, but we will look at the league in a little bit more depth later on. What we're going to look at before we go into Book Corner is the woke have spoke. And I did say, you've got to be joking, when I looked at a report that suggested that Harry the Haddock couldn't go to Southampton for the 5th round of the FA Cup with all the Grimsby Town supporters. I just thought that's just absolutely ridiculous.
If people keep giving them the platform, the platform grows for them. And I tell you this, there's 2 of them gone now. The New Zealand Prime Minister, she's gone. This idiot up in Scotland's gone. The more of these go, the better the world will be.
Absolutely.
It's just stupid. Going back to the VAR. We got the VAR, and we got referees up there, right?
Yeah.
Trying to analyse the game. I still get it wrong. Work that out.
I can't. We've got it in topics of the week. I do want to talk a little bit. We don't like to go on about VAR because VAR isn't the problem. It's the idiots that work VAR. So there's nothing wrong with the technology. It's the humans that are working the technology. That's the problem. But I was listening today, and Southampton have been liaising with Grimsby, vice versa. And they have given it a green card now, green light rather than a red card. And Harry the Haddock will be allowed to the 5th round of the FA Cup when Grimsby take on Southampton. A great cup run for Grimsby. And Harry the Haddock, great mascot.
Brilliant. Absolutely. It's a fantastic run for Grimsby because such as that, it's money into the club.
Absolutely.
It helps pay the wages, or it helps buy a new player.
Yeah.
And that's why I can't understand any club not wanting to play, the first team and try and win it. People said to me about Cliffy, there is more than one thing, but his emphasis was about winning. Scottish Anglo Cup, Italian Anglo Cup, Scottish, whatever it was called that.
Yeah, it was
League
the
Cup.
Anglo-Scottish.
He always wanted to win trophies,
Yeah.
Club.
I think that's what the trophy's there for, isn't it? If you're in a competition, you want to win the cup. And
Can you remember when Jose Mourinho came? He was saying, wanting to win all the trophies,
of course you do, yeah.
right? And then it started going down the other way, didn't it?
Yeah, because again they get a little bit greedy because when they start winning league titles and Champions Leagues, they start going, oh well, forget about the little cups, and this is what the elite are trying to do. Let's
But
get rid of the
Pep never
FA
did
Cup.
that. I mean, he's won more league cups than anybody. Him.
Yeah, he has, yeah. And Arsene Wenger, I think he won 7, didn't he? Arsenal won 7 under Wenger, a phenomenal amount of FA Cup wins, but. But a lot of these managers, you're right, they look at the FA Cup and they just think, well, we can't be bothered with the FA Cup. We can't be bothered with the League Cup. All we can be bothered in is staying in the damn Premier League or getting promoted to the Premier League. Well, I'm sorry, I don't see the value of that. I'd rather win a cup, get relegated, than stay in the league, because if you're not good enough to stay in the league, what's the point of being in the league in the first place? You are what you are. You are where you deserve to be. Go out and try and win every game of football that you play. And if you're not good enough for that, then you shouldn't be in that league. It's
How
simple
does
as
your
that.
team improve? How do you improve
Can't.
your players?
You
You
can't.
know, by just going, defending, teaching them how to defend all the time.
Absolutely, you can't. There's no improvement. That's
You
what I've
know,
always said in international football. The minnows shouldn't be in these qualification groups because they learn nothing. They just put 10 men behind the ball and the goalkeeper as well, make it difficult to score against. Well, any clown can do that. They're going to learn more if they're playing against like-minded sides that have similar ability and they're playing in a match, not in a massacre, and they go out, they play football, and that's how they learn to play football, by playing against, yes, slightly better players, but in a match situation where they go forward and try and win. That's the whole emphasis and that's the whole philosophy, or it should be, in playing football, not just sitting back and defending. If that's all you can do, go and play in a league that you're not frightened
if
to play in.
if the players were honest, they'll tell you they're so frustrated of going in and having to play like that. But
Absolutely.
they get paid, so they should up and get on with it.
Absolutely, T. But again, in my book, totally pointless. If you're in a cup, try and win it. If you're playing in the league, try and win the game. Whatever game that you're playing in, play forward. Try and win the game. Try and be entertaining. Football is an art; it's not a science. Book corner in association with myfootballbooks.com. Andy from My Football Books always gives us a recommendation. And this week, Arthur Kinnaird, The First Lord of Football by Andy Mitchell. And on this day, Thursday, the 16th of February, 1847, Lord Kinnaird, or Arthur Kinnaird, was born. He won 5 FA Cups, played for Scotland, and was president of the Football Association for 33 years. Quite an achievement and quite
Brilliant,
a pioneer.
fantastic.
Yeah, all recorded in this wonderful book. So if you do want to know more about and learn more about Arthur Kinnaird, check out his book, The First Lord of Football by Andy Mitchell. Bit before our time, T. But again, the way that
Still
we
like to
look,
pay respects to the people what's done a good job
absolutely,
for
and
the game itself.
that's what we do at the Curran View. We look at the football journey from the beginning of time to now, and players like Arthur Kinnaird are just as important as players like Harry Kane, and vice versa. It's all football, it's all a journey, and you can't help playing in the era that you play because that's when you were born.
Yep, exactly.
So always remember fondly, and never shall we forget. They are too good to be forgotten. And football was invented back in the 1800s, not 1992. A book that I enjoy. I haven't read it yet. I did do a podcast with John Sperling. Get it on how the 70s rocked football. Fabulous book here, or I say a fabulous book. of 500 pages, and it's all about the 1970s. So any time that I see a book on the 70s, it interests me. I put it into my library, and one of these days, if I ever get time, I'll sit down and read it. But it's a great front cover. Charlie George having a row with Terry Ibbott. On paper, that looks a little bit of a mismatch because Charlie was a big fella and Terry wasn't. But again, both great players, weren't they? Charlie George and Terry Ibbott.
Brilliant. Best player I've ever played with, Charlie. And a lovely guy, but what, stuck up on himself on a football field.
Yeah.
Because as a striker and a forward, you do get a lot of stick.
And Charlie took an awful lot of stick. The better the player, the more stick you take. You would have been identified when you played. Smash Curran early, see what happens. Alan Hudson, Tony Curran, all the great players took more stick than average because they're gonna identify. Managers identify the biggest threat that any other team poses, and it's always the best player. So guess what? The best player takes more stick and gets injured more. Charlie George, one of the all-time greats and one of the stars of the 70s.
Yeah, but listen, things he would do in training were unbelievable. And he not only did he do them in training, he took them out onto the pitch. He was an entertainer.
Absolutely, and of course won the double with Arsenal, won the championship,
won a league title with
Derby County in '75, and could have won the European Cup as well.
With them.
Yeah, but again cheated out of European competitions, as were many English teams in the '70s. Football was slightly different then in terms of the way that they cheat. But,
I don't think it's any different. I think there's still those shenanigans going on.
Oh, without a doubt, but I think it was more obvious then. I mean, Leeds United, when they got done by Milan in 1973 in the Cup Winners' Cup final, the referee turned up on the same plane as the Milan team. So, I think it was a lot more obvious in them days. They didn't seem to try and hide it like they try and hide it these days.
What makes me laugh is that regardless what the authorities say, they'll say, no, there's no cheating. There is cheating going on.
100%.
And they're there to try and catch anybody what's cheating.
Yeah.
Not keep saying it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. There's such thing as it doesn't happen. Make sure it doesn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are the caretakers of the game. Make sure that you look after it, but sadly they don't. They tend to look after their own bank accounts. Yeah, absolutely. And as a consequence, corruption has been absolutely rife. You've only got to look at the corruption in FIFA, certainly in Sepp Blatter's day, and Platini at UEFA as well. What a pair of criminals they were. But moving on, in Sunshine or in Shadow, a journey through the life of Derek Dougan by David Tossell. And David's written a wonderful book about the 70s, all crazy now. But he also wrote the book Natural about Jimmy Greaves as well. David Tossell, a tremendous football writer. But this book here, In Sunshine or in Shadow, a journey through the life of Derek Dougan by David Tossell.
The Doog.
I mean, what a player. Did you come across the Doog?
Yeah,
much?
we used to do what they call it, Gabby. Yorkshire Television.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
We used to do Yorkshire Television. Forget what, ITV Sports, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be, yeah. We all
used to come on Sunday afternoon, I think.
Yeah, we had Star Soccer. That was the first time that I saw you on Star Soccer. Hugh Johns used to be the commentator. You had the big match. Yeah. You had the big match, didn't you, in the London area?
That's what it's called, the big match, wasn't it?
Well, in the Midlands, it was always Star Soccer. So that's what we used to watch, Star Soccer. Usually Birmingham City, Wolverhampton Wanderers, Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest, Derby County.
Well, I met him plenty of times too.
What was he like to play against? How did you?
I'm not sure. I'm on about when he finished, because he was the big man at Yorkshire Television.
Right. Okay.
He was Martin Tyler was the commentator.
Yeah.
But he was the one like Jimmy Hill was for Match It Day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, got ya. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
it,
he was the anchor for ITV.
and he was quite a pioneer as well, wasn't he, the Duke?
Yeah.
I mean, he was
Bit like Jimmy
PFA
Hill.
chairman. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, PFA chairman. I mean, he wasn't never, shy to voice his opinions.
SRBMedia.